What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the world of Old Head in my new office, in my new house. You see it looks a little different behind me. That's because I have a whole front, I guess, sitting room of this house that is now devoted to my records. And so it's my record room. This is now just my office for work, Old Head, and, cranked and ranked, all that shit. So I tried to, make it look kind of nice with some posters and shit behind me. Hopefully you guys like it. I don't know. I'm into it. But that's not why we're here. I'm back, and I told you the last video I put out, the next time you would see me, it'd be time for another 40 years ago this month. This time for May 1985. And in the world of popular music in May 1985, not a lot has changed since the prior month. So let's get into the top singles for May of 1985. For the first week of May 1985, the number one single in America was We Are the World. Expected. But I think that's it for that particular song topping the charts, because the second week of May 1985, my girl Madonna ends up being the number one single with Crazy for You, which was a song, she didn't write it, but she did it for a movie called Vision Quest, which I don't even know if I've ever seen. Anybody seen it? Is it good? Either way, Crazy for You is a great song. I love that song. But a movie and song that I know both are really good is now taking over. It takes over. I'm getting back into the swing of things, people. Bear with me. But taking over the top spot for the third week of May 1985 is Simple Minds with Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club. This song to me has always felt like the quintessential 80s pop rock song, I guess. I don't know. There's a few that kind of are contenders, like, Take On Me by a-ha. There's a few of those songs that you hear them and you're immediately transported back to the 80s, and in this case, 1985. I just think that this got to be at least in the top 5 of quintessential 80s songs, and I love it, and I love the movie, and it was the top song on the third week, but it only lasted 1 week, because all of a sudden, the fourth week of May 1985, George Michael and Wham are back with Everything She Wants, which that's a fucking great song too. Admittedly, I'm not a huge Wham or George Michael fan. I guess there's nothing that I've heard that I don't like, just not a lot that really excites me. I do like George Michael's voice, so I guess that's something. But this is one of those songs that I'm like, oh yeah, that one comes on, and I'm like, yeah, this is a nice one. So number one for the last week of May 1985. All right, moving on to the top albums of May 1985. Both of these were prior number one albums in past months, and now they're just kind of battling it out for the top position. For the first 2 weeks, the album We Are the World, and I believe that We Are the World knocked the next 2 weeks' number one album off the charts, but then it came right back after that. Once everyone was like, we are the who the fuck cares? Because we fucking care about Phil Collins and No Jacket Required, which was the number one album for the second 2 weeks of May 1985. Phil, this is around the time people like to say that, you just heard Phil Collins all over the fucking place, and you did, and I loved it, and I still love it. I wish that Phil Collins still made music today that people would just be eating up and would be all over the radio. I mean, okay, fine. His last couple albums aren't as good, in my opinion, but it doesn't matter. I like Phil Collins' voice. I like Phil Collins' drumming. I like Phil Collins. Have I said it enough? Probably not. I'll say it a million more times on this channel. I'm a fan, Phil. I'm a fan. Okay. All right, moving on to the top movies in the U.S. for May of 1985. For the first 3 weeks, I never knew this movie was this popular, and I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid. But for the first 3 weeks of May 1985, the number one movie in the country was Code of Silence, the Chuck Norris classic. I guess it's a classic at this point. Honestly, it's the kind of movie that I should go back and revisit, because I'm sure that I'll love it, and I'll hate myself for doing this video being like, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And then future me will be like, you fucking moron, it rules. Anyway, Code Code of silence. So, but for the last week of May 1985, a movie that I saw a shitload when I was a kid, even though I probably shouldn't have, and I've seen a lot since and still love it. Rambo, First Blood Part 2 was the number one movie in the country. And man, I love Sylvester Stallone, especially the mid 80s to the mid 90s, his output around that time. Even the ones that I don't think are as good are still utterly watchable. And it's just, I have a weird soft spot for 80s action movies, especially starring Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. So obviously this is a movie that I'm really into, and it's pretty ridiculous and fun and awesome and everything you would want an 80s action movie to be. And honestly, it's a good take First Blood Part 2, and then after it follow it up with Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's a hell of a fucking double feature right there. But I do remember, now that I'm thinking about it, that First Blood Part 2 was the first Rambo movie that I saw, and I liked it so much that I went out and rented First Blood, and remember thinking, like, man, this movie is cool, but it's way more of a downer than First Blood Part 2. All right, before we move away from movies, I have to talk about one of my favorite 80s movies that unfortunately was not a number one movie in the country, but it came out May 31st, 1985, and that is Fletch. This is another one of those 80s movies that to me has aged remarkably well. Still really fun, and honestly, I still laugh out loud at this movie. I wouldn't call myself like a huge Chevy Chase fan. There's a few movies that he did that I really like, but I feel like this is my favorite Chevy Chase movie. And every time I think they did another Fletch movie. Was it John Hamm that played Fletch? And there was a part of me that went, oh, I'm going to check that out. And then I just never checked it out because I'm just like, I know that they've strayed away from the books, and some people, you're all like, yeah, the books are much better than the shitty Chevy Chase movie. But hey, I don't know what that voice was. All right, as a Muppet or something. But the Muppets didn't like it. The Muppets that read the books didn't like the Chevy Chase Fletch movies. But that's all I knew, and I still love it. And so to me, Fletch is Chevy Chase. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll check out the John Hamm one at some point. All right, so only one album to talk about. Other albums came out, and I'm sure there may be other albums that you would like to talk about on your channel, and you are free to do so. But the only album that came out in May of 1985 that I feel like talking about came out on the 14th, and it is Loose Nut from Black Flag. This is... I've talked about it a lot. I love Henry Rollins. I love Rollins era Black Flag. And there's like a few of the albums that are all kind of always wrestling for position for like what's my favorite Black Flag album, because they all have things about them that I love. And I'm pretty sure that Loose Nut was Eddie Sparks' number one Black Flag album when we did the Cranked and Ranked on Black Flag. But there's just like a lot of fucking great songs on this. And sure, they strayed away from the hardcore punk. And once again, the Muppets are all like, we don't like the new Black Flag where they have long hair and Henry Rollins. I don't like that. I'm a punk rocker. And whatever, to each their own. But I love this album, and it came out May 14th, 1985. Okay, so that is it for May 1985. Let's hop back in the time machine and move forward just 10 years. All right, so now it is May 1995, and we're going to talk about a few albums that came out in this month. And these albums were all a big deal for me, and for different reasons, really, actually. But I love that we're starting off with this one, because for the albums that came out in May of 1995, this is the one that I loved and could not stop listening to when it came out. On May 9th, 1995, the second full-length album from Clutch, which is just called Clutch. And this was like an album that I had the CD at that point, and I just played it on repeat. because I love the first full-length Clutch album a lot. And this one, they altered their sound a little bit, but there's still that energy and quirkiness, and the riffs are in there. And honestly, this is going to upset some of the Muppets out there, but this is where my relationship with Clutch ends, because after this album, they kept making music that is good, but is just kind of on this one level where it doesn't excite me. This album excites me and still does today. And yeah, I listen to every Clutch album when it comes out, because they're enjoyable albums. But yeah, nothing like I had this idea in my head back then that I was going to get some slightly different, strange version of Clutch every album, but it kind of just ends up being similar versions of the same thing, which is fine if you're into that kind of thing. But I think that they set the bar remarkably high with their first two full lengths. And I still love this album so much. And it came out May 9th, 1995. All right, on May 16th, 1995, a much lesser known album, but one that is equally as important to me, the second full-length album from Bracket, Four Wheel Vibe, with a little hot dog monster truck there on the cover. But these guys, if you don't know, pop punk band, heavy on vocal melody and harmony, very catchy, very well written songs. And this, I guess, if there was an album that I think was like them at their most popular, it was probably this one. This isn't my favorite Bracket album, but I don't know. Once again, the first three, pretty hard for me to figure out which one I like the best. Maybe one day, 10 years from now, if we ever get to the Bracket Cranked and Ranked, we'll figure that shit out. But I love this album. If you're into the pop punk thing, but want a little bit more in the songwriting area where it's a little bit more quirky and interesting, I guess. I don't know. It's Bracket. Four Wheel Vibe. Great album. All right. Last up, on May 23rd, 1995, the most popular album out of all these that I'm talking about, Sparkle and Fade from Everclear. I believe this is the second, maybe third Everclear album. I don't quite remember, but to a lot of us, it was the first one because it was the first major label one and the first one with a big promotion and has Santa Monica on it. And, everybody knew that fucking song. But I have a weird relationship with this album because I bought it when it came out on CD, and it was one that I listened to a little bit and couldn't really get that into aside from certain songs. And then years and years and years later, I started revisiting a lot of this 90s music that I liked things about it, but I didn't like fully catch on with it. And all of a sudden, I became like a really big Everclear fan, especially the first few albums, because I was like, oh my God, these are almost like power pop tunes, only kind of grungy. I don't know. To me, it's just really fun 90s alt rock, and is one of those albums that sort of transports you back to the mid 90s. But has the songs to back it up. So Everclear, Sparkle and Fade. All right, so that wraps up May 1995 and May 1985. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like the new background, because this is kind of what you'll be seeing. Maybe I'll do some videos in front of the new record room setup eventually. But I'm a man of convenience, and it's more convenient just to do it right here in the office. So hopefully you like it. Anyway, I'm glad to be back. The old head train is going to start speeding up and rolling along again, and you'll start seeing my stupid face a lot more. And so I hope you're ready for it. Get ready for more Cranked and Ranked. Get ready for more Someone's Boner. Get ready for what's that? Old Bollocks. That should still be happening. All those things and the other videos that I do. Me just talking to people that care to fucking listen. And that's you, because you're still here, and I love you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you all again next month.